Everybody smiles in the same language. A smile, let your light come shining through.
Welcome to the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow podcast. I'm Sandra M., coming to you from Santa Fe, New Mexico, the land of enchantment. I interview people from all parts of the world about what happiness means to them. What are they in love with? In each episode, we'll give you a key to happiness to include in your life. And of course, we'll play a happy tune from my live Celebrate Happiness Roadshow.
A smile doesn't cost you anything. But there's so much good.
Welcome to the second season of the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow podcast. And don't forget to catch up on any episodes from season 1 you might have missed. Today we're talking with Stacy Sacco, well-known and respected New Mexico management consultant and an active New Mexico community volunteer, hosting a free website, www.nmnetlinks.com, with 3,600 plus links to local business resources and serving as the chair-elect for the Workforce Connections Board of Central New Mexico. Stacy is recognized as a power broker, one of the 100 most influential people statewide, one of the most 6 connected business persons in Albuquerque, and one of the best locals to have lunch with. In addition to earning his MBA at Pepperdine University and his bachelor's in marketing from the University of Arizona, Stacy toured worldwide, singing and performing for 2 years with the global leadership program Up with People. Previously, he taught entrepreneurial studies at UNM Anderson School of Management for the past 20 years and served as the director of the UNM Small Business Institute. Outside of New Mexico, Stacy held national marketing management positions at AVCO Financial Services, Hyundai Motor Finance Company, Transamerica Insurance Services in Southern California, and locally management positions at the CNM Workforce Training Center, Great Albuquerque Chamber of Commerce, Kirtland Credit Union, and WESST. Welcome, Stacy. I am so excited to talk to you about happiness and what it means in your life.
Thank you, Sandra.
You're welcome. I'm going to start with the question I ask everybody, which is, what makes you happy, Stacy? What are you passionate about? What gets you out of bed in the morning?
Well, for me, it's actually, I'm all about contributing to a better world. I'm not sure how to say that, but I'm trying to always help the community, help others. I think at the bottom line, I have been so blessed by so many other people opening doors for me, introducing me to people, helping me with a reference letter or whatever. In so many ways, how would I be as successful as I have been without all these people helping me? So it's just my way of giving back. So that's what makes me happy, is to be able to pass that along.
So to contribute to a better world, this is a huge subject. So when you talk about a better world, could you talk a happier world, a world where people get along better? How would you characterize that?
Well, yeah, it starts to sound like a beauty pageant where I say I'm interested in world peace. Nothing that huge. It's more just like I've taught 3,000 students at UNM and at Webster University, and I'd spend time when I could with each one to say, what are you interested in? Well, if they're interested in a career, let me help them move that career along, open a door to an employer. If they're trying to accomplish something or learn something, where's that source for that information? So that's kind of my way to do that. It's more on an individual basis to help people reach their goals. And that, to me, is going to make, if everybody gets a chance to do that or has the opportunity or resources or skills to move themselves forward, that to me is happiness. So.
Right. So basically you're empowering people one-on-one.
Yes, that's a great way to say it. Thank you.
Right, to fulfill their dreams. You know, I was in Bhutan, which is this wonderful country where they calculate the gross national happiness of their people, and I was speaking with a High Lama, and I told him I do a show on happiness, and he said to me the following, and it seems to me you're doing exactly what he said. He was saying, you know, you can't make everybody happy all at once. You have to do it one person at a time. Literally, you smile at one person at a time. And he did ask me to say that smiling is the quickest way to make somebody happy. And
I love that. Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. Is happiness a choice, do you think, in life?
I think it is. I think, interesting when you said about changing one person at a time. I traveled with a group called Up With People right out of high school. It's a student group that empowers people worldwide. And so we performed. I was a dancer in the show, but one of our songs was 1 to 1, we change the world to make the world a better place. Those were some of the words in that one song. So when you said that, I thought, oh, that was actually one of my favorite songs. 1 to 1, we change the world. I love it. So, but your question, can you say it again? It was more about.
What is happiness a choice, do you think, in life?
Yes. You know, it's funny. I did a study of, because I was trying to compare. We love to put New Mexico down and say, well, we're the 50th this, 50th that. And I did a study on that, wrote a column on it for the paper. If we were a country alone, we'd be, our per capita income, we'd be the 21st richest country out of 275 countries. And I said that to an audience one time, and people were just jumped on me. Oh, my God, no, we're poor. I thought, well, you're choosing to be poor. And they're like, how can you say that? I says, well, don't forget, we're rich Americans. It's about how you perceive it or what's your perspective. What are you comparing it to? And so I think it's important that, you know, you're choosing to be happy or unhappy or find happiness, I think, for all of us. And so you can be a victim and say, no, we're the poorest state, or we can start to think this other way and say, no, we can improve on it and let's move it forward. And that's not only in a state level, but or we can think about making changes on an individual level.
Right.
You know?
So I always say to people that happiness is an inside job. So my happiness might be very different from your happiness, correct? We have to find our own happiness as it relates to our worldview. How about, is happiness a way of living? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, and I think, you know, I've always been in marketing, so when we're trying to sell something, we look at what motivates a person. Is the product benefits? Is it safety? Is it low cost, quick service? So that's going to depend on who the individual is. So when you said that about each person sees some level of happiness based on their own individual position or goals or needs. So, but I think we can each help find those goals. But I think most people don't really have a set of goals listed somewhere. Well, put that together. Let's start with that. And then start working towards what's important to you in terms of what do you want to accomplish.
So is that what you want to accomplish aligned with your purpose? A lot of people have told me that when they have a purpose in life, which hooks up to their passion, that they are happier as people, because it somehow is just the foundation for them going forward in life. What are your thoughts? Don't forget to get your ticket for the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow at the Explorer Museum Adult Night Program. Friday, September 20th, 6 to 9 p.m. Tickets at www.explora.us. That's spelled EXPLORA.US.
You know what you brought up for me, I'd forgotten about that, but I had some students one time. I noticed they all had a little bracelet, and it was the same bracelet, a little ring. And I said, what is that? And they said, well, it's a company called My Intent. And you put one word on there that is what's your keyword for the way you live your life. So I bought one from my wife. I put on hers resilient. Mine is, actually I'm looking at it, it's purposeful. Isn't that funny, the way you just described that? Everything I do should have a purpose. I'm only here one life, and if I'm not moving things forward to be on purpose, what the heck am I doing? You know, so I wear this on my wrist all the time to keep kind of celebrate that.
Fantastic. I think is your purpose hooked up with your passions, the way you feel about, well, you started out by saying that you want to create a better world and that you empower people. Is your purpose to empower people?
Yes. Yeah. And, you know, I moved back to Mexico. I went to California for 20 years, came back, and all I heard everybody say is, well, we're the 50th poorest state. We're at the bottom of all the good lists, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, shut up. We can make a difference by each taking responsibility for that. It's partly why instead of me complaining about that, I could complain all day long. I'm pretty good at it. But why don't I instead create like my website, NM Netlinks, where I'm helping connect now 10,000 people to 3,600 links. Now, you can find those same links on Google, but I make it easy. And when I talk to people, I'll say, what are you trying to accomplish? Oh, I'm trying to get a job. Well, I've got a list of all the better job hunting sites. So I try to make it easy for people to move forward on what they're passionate about instead of complaining about it from my perspective. So.
The people who complain are just not really they're not looking inward. They're not thinking, okay, what is it that I want for me and my life and for my family? So I'm asking you the next question. What do you think that makes most people happy in your experience? And because I know you're out with a lot of people all the time, and you are the best person in New Mexico to have lunch with, as I said in our intro. Yes. So let me ask you then again, what do you think makes most people happy?
Well, yeah, and I talk to a lot of people. I think it depends on probably where they are in the stages of their life. If they're in college, they're going to be really happy if they get that degree because they think that's going to lay the foundation for their career. If they're now have their degree, it's sort of lifestyle oriented. If you're because I'm looking at it sort of through a marketing filter, but people in their 30s or 40s, they're going to be interested in getting married, settling down, having kids. Older folks are thinking more about, do they have retirement money, or health is an issue as you get older. So those are, I think happiness is relative to where you are in stages in your life. The problem you have to be careful of is that there's expectations from society about what you should have accomplished by a certain day or time. And I think we all beat to our own drums. So it's like, what's important to you is what's the most important thing. I have a badge I wear sometimes, or at least carry it. It says, I self-validate, but thanks anyways. In other words, you can judge me all day long, but the biggest judge in my life is me, not you. But you know, I self-validate. I self-judge myself and try to keep in congruence with what's important to me.
I love that. I self-validate. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful concept. I love it. So now, a lot of people talk to me about happiness and they say, well, happiness is just a moment. It's not sustainable. You know, it's moment to moment. I'm happy when I get married. I'm happy when I get my degree, my first job, these things. And it's not something that is sustainable in my life. And I say, oh, I don't think so. I think that if you have a happiness. So I'd love to know what your idea is. Do you think happiness is a sustainable feeling, a sustainable understanding of life, a way of going about things that then creates other stuff in your life?
So that's a great question. I think it probably goes back to when I was young and I had some of my mentors give me books to sort of refer me to regarding finding happiness or moving towards accomplishing my goals. One of the greatest books I found was a book called A Road Less Traveled by Scott Peck. And basically what he says is, life's a bunch of problems. Get over it. He's always saying, don't chase happiness, chase skills and solutions and ways to overcome problems, because every day is going to change. You're going to have problems you're going to deal with every day. So your job in life should be to figure out, how do you get more skills to handle stuff? And whether that's something personal, or like you need degrees, or you need like for me, one of my best skills I have to be careful of is time management. I think there's so many things thrown at me and people want to get me going a certain direction. For me, the best thing I can do is create a system. So when I get a question, where does it go? It goes in a file and I follow up. I have a system for all that. The other great book was Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson. And he talked about quit blaming others for your problems, but start, take action. He had the two characters, the two mice, Sniff and Scurry. And it's like, they moved the cheese. Hem and Haw, the other two characters in that, are complaining. Oh, they moved the cheese. They need to move the cheese back. They should. I'm like, I don't believe in should. I'm going to go find the cheese. Let's keep moving,
Wonderful, wonderful. One of the simple ways that when I wake up in the morning, you open your eyes, correct? That's how we wake up. We open our eyes. And the first thing I do is I smile I have my room is covered with a lot of pictures of animals. I love animals, so I have pictures of wolves and bears and so forth. And so they're like around me when I wake up, and I just make it it's just a habit for me to open my eyes and to smile at the world. And that just changes everything for me. I mean, I just think, okay, I'm ready to go. And sometimes I have to smile 1, 2, or 3 times. So I'll smile at the wolf, I'll smile at the bear, whatever. But it just makes me feel good. And that's just a simple thing for me to just sustain happiness. And as I'm going through life, if I start to complain, or if I am concerned about who moves the cheese, etc., I love that. You move the cheese. Okay, then what I do is I stop and I say, Sandra, be mindful. Be mindful. What can you do to move this forward in a way that is going to be a solution?
Exactly.
So being mindful as I go through the day. What do you think about that? Being mindful about staying positive, staying happy, not getting into victim mode?
Join Sandra M. for her live performance of the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow, a toast to love and happiness in life, an uninhibited musical adventure guaranteed to awaken your happiness vibe. Celebrate with upbeat rhythms, love songs, and fun stories, some told by you in the audience. Sandra's musical guest and accompanist, Todd Lowry, sings his hopeful and happy originals. To book Sandra M. and the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow, email sandra@sandramcknight.com. Celebrate happiness with Sandra M.
Well, there's a couple things there. One is, and all my jobs, I've been in some aspect of marketing. I've been, national marketing manager for Hyundai and big jobs. And when I would train people, especially call center people, how to stay positive, because they're going to deal with a lot of angry customers, put a mirror on their desk, a mirror so they could look, and there was a little note at the top that said smile. So you're looking at yourself and you're saying, hey, smile, things are going to be okay. And by reflecting on yourself that way, it keeps you sort of guided. But I also have on my wall here, if I hear a phrase, maybe even a movie, I'll write down that script have one here. James Bond from No Time to Die. I took that off the script. And the quote is, the proper function of man is to live, not to exist. I shall not waste my days in trying to prolong them. I shall use my time. And then I've got the word panache. So I try to live or respond to everything with panache, flamboyant confidence of style or manner. But I've got any kind of positive thinking or affirmations. I have them all along the wall here to keep me kind of a frame of mind about, hey, I can make a choice, move things forward, or I can sit here and complain. Happy to complain. Wow.
Do you think most people complaining actually makes them happy? I mean, I've had people say, oh, when I complain, I just feel better. So maybe in the moment, a little bit of complaining can make you happy. What do you think?
Well, I think a lot of people, there's some aspects of that, absolutely. I mean, I promise you at least once. I think part of it is people, that's why a lot of people love to see people sometimes not succeed, because they compare themselves to them and say, well, they're not, I am. And I'm like, I don't do that. Again, my biggest judge is me. I love to keep track of what I got done. I do an annual audit of myself, and I look at what did I have? What were my goals? What did I get done? And then how can I move me forward? I don't care about your goals. Those are your goals. I love that you have goals. I'm happy to help you. But my judgment of all that is me, and how am I moving myself forward?
So this is what they do in Bhutan. As I mentioned earlier, they calculate the gross national happiness of their people, right? In other words, they review every year. They assess, are our people happy? And if they're not, or if we can improve here, we can improve there. So two things that you mentioned that I think are so important that people don't actually do in relation to happiness. Are my goals, whatever they may be, or my purpose in life, whatever it may be, is it making me happy? Do I feel good in the morning? Because in my opinion, life is short. So why not feel good as much as possible, right? Why not be happy as much as possible? And the other thing is checking in. As you just said, checking in. How am I doing with my goals? How much of the time of my life, because we never can get our time back, right? So how much of that time am I happy? I think many people don't actually do that. Mm-hmm.
So two things in there is, one is I made a list of my goals. Well, I just sat down one day and I said, if I could get everything done I want to do, what mountain do I want to climb? What language do I want to speak? What place do I want to visit? And I just sat down and said, let's just brainstorm, open it up. Anything's possible, crazy. But I made a list of 122 things that day, 1988. I looked at the list every year. I've got about 90 of them already done. Now, the one going on the space shuttle is probably not going to happen, but maybe I'll get on spaceport, But so valuable to everybody to just go sit down somewhere for an hour and just sort of brainstorm a list of anything you'd ever want to accomplish in your life. And, half of it's completely nuts. You're going to fly to the moon. Okay, but there's a bunch of practical things that you can then reformulate that list and say, this is what I want to get done, and start moving on it. And like I said, I've done 90 of the 122. So, and a lot of that wasn't necessarily planned. It's just those were from my heart. So, I'm going to get them done. The other one quick thing I was going to say is I did do a TEDx talk. When they ask you to do one of those, you got to think about, well, what motivates you? What's the bottom line? Well, I've almost been killed a lot of times. In fact, I added it up the other day at 7 lives. My wife's always giving me a hard time. Like, you only have 9 lives as a cat. How many times have you almost been killed? Well, it was 7 times. I had a guy in an armed robbery put a gun to my head. I had a mountain climbing accident. I fell pretty far. I had a rafting accident. So I shouldn't be here. So that was my TED Talk. And I keep track on a spreadsheet. I know my actuarial table tells me I'm going to live to 82. I'm 68. So I have 14 more years. Well, what does that mean? Well, it's 684 more weekends. So if I read Where's that? If I read 6 books a year, I'm only going to read 79 more books. So which books should I be reading that would be impactful for me? My favorite thing in the year is always the balloon festa. So I make sure I go the day they have the coolest balloon stuff, the fireworks, the balloon glow, you know, and I always eat 2 Indian breads. My doctor always says you should be on a diet. He goes, just eat 1. I go, no, I'm only going to have 13 more balloon fests to go through. I'm eating 2 breads. So, and I might joke with my wife is I have, if it's 14 years, I have 14 more kisses at midnight on New Year's Eve. So guess what I'm going to do? I always tell her, and they're going to be great kisses.
Oh, yeah.
So it starts with how many weeks do you have? If you're 50 and you're getting, you know, average lifespan for men is everybody's around 80, 78, 80. So, but let's say you live to 100. So it's 50 more years times 52 weeks. You got 2,500 more weekends. You're out of here. So what are you going to do with this weekend and make it really special and cool? Which concert are you going to go to? I always try to buy front row seats and get a backstage pass to everything. I max it. I maximize everything because I only have so much time. It's limited.
Don't forget to get your ticket for the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow at the Explorer Museum Adult Night Program. Friday, September 20th, 6 to 9 p.m. Tickets at www.explora.us. That's spelled EXPLORA.US. I love that. Maximize everything because you only have so much time. And, of course, you're maximizing for what? To enjoy yourself, right?
Right. Or accomplish your goals. For me, I keep track of how many speeches I give, how many I try to keep track of how many people I've helped in different aspects. I know I have 13 students I've taught over the last 20 years, you know, and so I do have, that's my audit, I guess, if you want to call it that. And I try to improve on that. At the end of the year, I look and go, wait a minute, you didn't get enough. You had a goal around this. What the heck were you doing? Get on it. You know?
Stacy, you are fantastic. I have known you for a long time, and you have been so instrumental in my career and in my life. So I'm one of your people that you empowered, and you've empowered me to do what I'm doing today, which is to spread the word that happiness is sustainable in your life. It's something that is meaningful, and we have a right. I think we're born happy myself. What do you think about that?
So yes and no. I think, you know, you had asked me that question one time before, and I thought, I think, you know, it's nature versus nurture. And I think naturally we're motivated to succeed, to reproduce. You know, I've been in advertising marketing. What ads sell the most? Pictures of little babies or baby kittens or baby dogs. It has to do with our motivation to reproduce and to live, to be successful and survive. So we have a survival instinct. And I think that shows up as a huge motivator for all of us. Then the other aspects as you move up sort of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is what are your, it's not just about survival and breathing and eating and having a shelter. It's about this other stuff having to do with you're part of a bigger community. And what is your impact? We live in an interactive world. Sorry. It's not just you. It's that you don't put, I laugh because you go to the grocery store, I couldn't grow half of those things that I can go find on a shelf. There's apples and whatever. It's because somebody went and picked them, and we had an exchange of some wealth or value to make it so that I can survive. But it's because we're in an interactive world. So I think it's underneath it all, it's really about how do you move within that larger environment. And that's so important to understand. It's not just about you. You're certainly it's about you and you focusing on yourself, but we all need to help each other. We all need, takes a village to raise a person. And so.
A child, I think is the word, a child.
Or a child,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Well, that is a perfect way to end our wonderful interview. You've given me so many, and our listeners, so many wonderful ideas and thoughts to contemplate. Are there any last words that you'd like to leave with us?
Oh, the last thing I was going to say, I was thinking of one of the books that totally influenced me over the years was a book called When I Say No, I Feel Guilty. And it was about, you have like 10, 12 unalienable rights as a human being to answer a question or not. But what he's really talking about is taking responsibility. And when somebody attacks you, he gives you tools to say, hey, I got it. You don't like me. Well, how much don't you like me? It's okay. I like me. It's okay you don't like me. But that book, and so I just say it's a last word would be about really understanding you're much more in control of your what's going on around you. And so that book in particular, I think, gets you more towards having tools to deal with that. And then what I said earlier too is that life's a bunch of challenges and problems. To me, it's not about trying to be happy as opposed to learning to develop skills to overcome these challenges and problems you're going to encounter. And then guess what you get at the end of all that? Happiness.
Okay. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you so much for being on the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow podcast.
Oh, well, thank you for doing this. I love you, but I love what you're doing and how you're making a difference for all of us. It's the same kind of theme I have, but I know so many people that know you and we all love you. So thank you for being there to help make the world a better place.
Keys to happiness number 6, give lots of compliments. Practice acts of kindness. Giving a sincere and respectful compliment is a quick way to brighten someone's day and to boost your own happiness. Catch the person's eye and say it with a smile so that they know you mean it. You might be surprised by how good it makes you feel.
Newsflash. Please sign up for your copy of our Keys to Happiness at sandramcknight.com. Thank you for tuning in to Season 2 of the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow podcast. And if you enjoyed the conversation, please help spread the word by sharing with your friends and family. Before we go, I'd like to thank today's guest, Stacy Sacco, for sharing his happiness story. And to share your happiness story on the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow podcast, send an email to sandra@sandramcknight.com.
Turn your smile on, you can't go wrong. You'll find that love is all around.